In this video, I'm going to talk to you about the customer loyalty ladder, right? And certain steps that any individual takes to go from a complete stranger for your business into becoming what we call advocates, right? When you have the highest level of customer loyalty. Now, when you're thinking of advocates, I want you to imagine the stereotypical sort of fight you have with someone who's an Android versus Apple phone, right? Like those people, when you ask them, oh, which phone should I buy? And they're like really passionate, like, oh, you have to buy an iPhone, or oh, you have to buy an Android phone. Just think about the last thing you bought where you actually told a friend, hey, I wanted to buy it, and they like convinced you that you have to go buy from a specific brand. Those people are advocates. They've reached the highest level of customer loyalty, which means they're buying from the brand, they believe they're part of the brand, and then they're going out and becoming sort of the biggest ambassadors and really sort of advocating for the brand any chance that they get. Every business is unique, but I'm going to help you walk through generic strategies that you can use and how to get through each one of those levels. Why don't we jump right into it? I grew up in a small business family, so I know what it's like to have 1,000 questions. So the first step is prospect, right? In which they're a prospective customer. They may be willing to buy it, but they're not sure yet, or they haven't really made a purchase from you. And this is usually like when someone walks past your storefront, or when someone comes on your website, or when they find your Instagram for the first time, and like they're considering whether they should buy from you. Usually in these stages, the thing that they need the most is information and then an incentive. So your goal as a business owner should be like, okay, I know here are all the questions that I think you have. And if you can, actually asking them, oh, what are the questions you have? So oftentimes the primary questions people will have: who are you? What do you do? How do I get involved? And why should I trust you? So if you're doing, for example, your TikTok strategy about getting videos out there and like driving traffic in from TikTok or Instagram, creating content that answers those 4 questions. This is who we are as a company. This is what we do. We sell XYZ thing. This is the initiatives that we're running. Here's the social justice causes that we might be supporting, stuff like that. Here's how you can get involved, right? So you can go buy this thing from this here. We have an online website. Here are these promotions and deals that we're doing. And then the last thing, why you should trust us. Well, here are customer testimonials. Here are sort of the features that we have in each one of our products. And here's why the benefit of each feature. Instead of just saying, oh, we have soy wax, saying we have soy wax, which means that it's healthier for your health and that it can last longer, blah, blah. So saying, here's the feature and here's why that matters to you. Here's that benefit. You're going to create content and sort of ads and make sure that your website and everything answers the typical questions they have. So you're giving them information. But the second thing you're also going to do is give them an incentive, right? So, hey, now that you know everything about us, now that you've learned to slowly start trusting us, here's the incentive that I want that is going to make you take an action. So, hey, for a limited time only, we have 20% off. Or literally, sometimes you'll hear a call to action, which is actually putting something like buy now, or click to learn more, or go to the link, or book a session. So it's actually giving them something that's going to catch their attention and go, okay, oh yeah, I need to go take that action now. Eventually, I as the customer need to get out of this mentality of just learning information and actually take some sort of action. And the way that companies will get you to do that is either make that button really, really big or make it obvious. Or if that's not going to convince you to take the action, like just a simple buy now button really doesn't get you to go, okay, click buy now. Then they'll do promotions and incentives like, okay, 50% off, limited time deal, limited stock, etc. Giving them information and giving them an incentive to take an action will usually turn someone into a customer, right? So that action being when they buy something for the first time. Now, a customer is an individual that's bought something from you about once or twice, right? So, but not in the reason that they wanted to come back or they wanted to buy from you specifically, more so that they're focused on the actual product, the thing you just sold them, right? So say if you're a coffee shop, I may not necessarily like your coffee shop or not have any sort of strong feelings about wanting your coffee shop, but as a customer, I may come in just because I wanted coffee and you are a coffee shop. So I bought a coffee cup once, and then I came back a second time just because you were in the neighborhood and I bought a croissant, right? In those spaces, I'm focusing on your products, not on you as the coffee shop. It's just, you're just a way for me to get my product. In this space, what you want to do is collect points of contact and then introduce an investment point. Say I open up a cafe that's called Chirag's Cafe. I want them to have affinity in this feeling of like, okay, I want to support Chirag's Cafe, not just, oh, I just want a cup of coffee and Chirag's Cafe was the closest cafe that happened to have that, right? So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to introduce points of contact and an investment point. For example, I'll say, hey, do you want to join our newsletter? You'll get a coupon in the email every week for one free item. Or, hey, do you want text messaging? Is there some way that I can contact you, right? So that way the relationship no longer only becomes dependent on the customer, right? Instead of waiting, okay, eventually one day the customer will remember me and come back. It's more so of, can I take some responsibility in that relationship, right? Because the customer is busy. In the customer's eyes, especially if they don't have an affinity to you, if they're not deeply rooted or like really like understand your brand, to them, I'm any other cafe, right? And so just like many other cafes in life, there's nothing special, nothing stood out. So there's a high chance that they could end up forgetting about me and later on be like, oh man, I went to that cafe once. Oh, I should go there again. But then, oh wait, I'm busy. I got to go do these other things. By collecting points of contact, I can now take responsibility of being, okay, let me send you an email that's going to remind you that we exist, that Chirag's Cafe is a thing that's there waiting for you, right? And then even if you don't reach out to me, if you may forget about me, I'm going to calmly remind you every now and then. Some people take it overboard by sending like a million emails and spamming people. Please don't do that, right? But the idea is to just find a way that, okay, once every now and then, I'm going to reach out just to remind you that we exist. The second thing is I'm going to introduce an investment point, right? Some way to get you invested. And one of the best ways now, if we're using the coffee shop example, right? So if you ever see those coffee cards where it's like, if you buy 5 coffees, you get the 6th one free. The idea is, okay, I'll give you that card. I'll punch the first hole because you just bought a cup of coffee from me. The second time you come in, I'll punch the second hole. Now you feel like you've invested into this experience. So you're like, oh, you know what? I got to go get coffee. So when you're sitting there like, and you're like, oh, should I go to Chirag's Cafe or the cafe across the street? Oh, but you know, Chirag's Cafe, I already have 2 like punch holes. And so if I get 3 more, then I can get 1 more coffee for free. Like that investment gets you sort of involved and it'll be like, okay, you know, I got to go back to Chirag's Cafe. As a business owner, what you're essentially looking for is a way to get them to take some sort of action that's going to have some meaning to them, that they're tying their time or their perception to it. And so it's going to get them to say, okay, like if I have to decide between you and another brand that I might be going to, and like you are relatively close by and it's just like an easy decision, I'm more likely to go to your brand because I have some investment into that for some reason. Right. By getting their contact information, by introducing an investment point, you'll get them to sort of keep you in mind and eventually come back a couple times. And once they've come back as repeat customers, just like the name says, they're just customers who repeatedly buy something. This is where most businesses, usually, if not at the customer level, they'll usually say, okay, I got a sale, now I got to move on to the next customer. That's usually where most businesses will fail. Then the ones that sort of go beyond that will say, okay, well, the repeat customers, okay, I've got these repeat customers. They come back every month or so. It's cool. That's it. Now I go find new customers. You want them to go to that next level because at the moment, what they're at is us and them, right? It's this mentality of like, oh, that's a business. I'm a customer and I happen to buy from that business every now and then, but I don't have anything that makes me feel like I'm really part of the business or like there's no skin in the game. I don't really care. We could go to Chirag's Cafe. We can go somewhere else. At this point, here's what you're going to do. You're going to introduce your business values and then offer them ways for them to get involved. Ben & Jerry's is a really good example of this, right? So Ben & Jerry's believes very strongly in a lot of social justice causes. So they'll often actually say like, okay, here's this thing that we believe on their pints. As a part of that, it allows the people to humanize their customers, to humanize the brand and understand, whoa, this isn't just a company. This is actual people working. These are people working hard, putting food on their table at the end of the day. These are employees or actual people. The owner is an actual person. Yeah, they have Chirag's Cafe, but Chirag's the actual owner behind it. He's a person. He does something. He stands for something. And it becomes a lot easier for we can connect to people. Right? What we can't necessarily connect to is a business, an idea. We don't really connect with that. We don't have a meaningful, deep relationship. With people, we can. So when you start sharing your business values, we as a business, this is what we believe in, right? So these are often things like if you have an eco-friendly sort of push, focusing on that. Oh, we believe that, our employees should be paid well, so this is what we do. We believe that, equality above all else, right? So even if it doesn't necessarily have to be a social justice cause, it can just be like, okay, these are what I believe. When I created this brand, I wanted it to be low cost for people. We wanted to do this. Or when we created this clothing company, we wanted it to have the highest quality stuff, and the goal was to do blah, blah, this. Why does the business exist? What do you believe in? And then the idea becomes those repeat customers who now also can believe in those things, can also see those things and visualize them, can also say, oh, wow, cool, you're like me. This is a space where I'm welcome. These are my people, right? And they're more likely to show up. Now think about it this way. If you come from any ethnic background, right? So for example, my family's from India originally, right? I was born and raised in the US. But because I grew up in sort of an Indian family, anytime I see an Indian restaurant or if I see something that's remotely Indian, I feel a sense of like, oh, these are my people, right? Like I've got to show some support. I got to tip my hat. I got to say hi, whatever, right? Same thing here. You're letting them see like this is who we are as a community. Would you like to be part of our community? And that's where you offer ways to get involved. My cafe owner, something that I might say is like what we really believe in is literacy, right? And so we often donate money or some of our proceeds for children literacy fund, like programs. And as part of that, we also have a book club that's done every week. in which people get together, and we've got free books here where you can come into the cafe and read the books. And as part of that, every Friday we do this book club where kids come in, and then, customers can come in as well. And like, we encourage everyone to come in and just have a chance to talk about books, to read books. And like, we do this nice, cool hour where like espresso shots are free for that 1 hour kind of thing, right? And the idea is it gives people a way to be able to say, oh, I want to get involved. If you're an e-commerce website who sells fitness wear, something you might do is say, hey, like, we believe that people should have the ability, they should have clothes that make them feel confident and strong while they're working out. And a way for you to get involved is like, hey, if you take a photo for the next 5 days, we're going to hold each other accountable. Every day, I want you guys to take a photo of you in your workout gear, put it on Instagram, and say that it's part of this challenge, 5-day confidence challenge, right? And people who complete all 5 days will send you some free merch. We want you to get involved by also being part of this vision that we have. And in the process, it's also great marketing. When you offer someone the ability to get involved and they were to take up that offer, it turns them into a supporter because they're making the active decision that you are I'm no longer interacting with you just for the product, right? I'm interacting with you with the actual brand. So for example, when people were just repeat customers, they would come into Chirag's Cafe to buy coffee. That was the only reason they were there. The coffee was what mattered. Now, by becoming supported, by getting involved, showing up for that book club, what they're essentially saying is the coffee I like, but I also actively am participating with Chirag's Cafe, the brand, the company, right? At this point, they become supporters, right? They start, the things that you're saying, it's like, hey, we're going to do a book club, show up. Or, hey, we're going to run this cool like VIP program, which if you buy membership into this, you'll get 5% off all coffees for the next, so-and-so amount of time. And they come and they support you because they believe you, they have some relationship with you. But even at this level, they're not necessarily advocating for you, which is where we want to get, right? That final step of where we want them to be like, when a friend comes in and says, hey man, I got to go get coffee right now. It's like, I love Starbucks. I want the advocate to sit there and go like, no. Here's why you don't want Starbucks. You want to go to Chirag's Cafe. In order to get that, while they're in that supporter phase, to get them to that advocate phase, reward their support. So show them that they are being valued, because remember, it's still a little bit of us and them. There's a clear line of divide between you and the customer, that individual. I'm Chirag's Cafe, a business. You are just someone who buys from me and supports me every now and then. Advocates have to feel and truly believe that they are part of your brand, right? So creating something like, hey, thank you so much for always showing up. I've seen you come in 5 times already in the last month or so, in the last week. Here's a free coffee on me. Thank you so much for always supporting us. It means a lot that you show up to these events, right? If someone buys from you multiple times, right, rewarding them and saying, hey, we notice you're a loyal customer. You've been here a while. You almost feel like you're part of the team here. You're really helping us build our business. Here's a coupon. Here's some free merch. Here's something to get you involved. That's why brand ambassadors work so well, right? So some of the most famous dating apps in the world, like Bumble, and I don't know if Tinder did this, but I know Bumble did it, right? So Bumble, one of the growth strategies it had is that it got a bunch of college students to become brand ambassadors, sent them a bunch of free merch. And then for every sign up and everything they got, they rewarded them for it. And over time, this idea that, hey, you are part of our team and we want you to feel like you are part of the success and the growth that we're having, right? And then that whole success and growth part is actually really important, because that ties back to business metrics. You want to make sure that everything in this level is now tying back to business metrics, and you're making clear to them that they are having an impact on the business. Oftentimes, the toughest part about working out, right, is when you work out for a couple of weeks and you're like, wow, I'm not seeing any progress. Despite that, you may be having progress on the inside and you're not seeing that. But if we don't see it, oftentimes you get very demotivated. Like, man, what I'm doing, does it matter? If you create a way for people to become supporters and actually support your business, show them that, hey, okay, for every person you bring in, look, this is more coffees that we're selling. Here's how we're growing. Oh, I'm thinking about launching a second location. The only reason I can do that is because you've been bringing in so many new people. And we've been learning that they're that they want a location in that neighborhood over there. Right? So literally tying it back, hey, all the things that you're doing to help out, here's how that's helping the business as a whole and how it's helping us grow. You did that. Which finally brings us back to bringing someone into an advocate. Once they start going, wow, really? I did that. I helped this business grow. I have skin in the game. At this point, to keep them in that advocate position, you want to invest, reward, and just encourage them as much as you can. These are the people where, hey, it doesn't matter how much it costs you, because these are your best sellers. These are your best marketing people. These are the people that are going to go to bat for you. Give them those discounts, give them those deals, bring them in, introduce them to the business, really make them feel, hey, you are in this journey with us. Help us through this, right? And then bring the focus to a common metric. At this point, that sort of invisible line of, hey, our business is here and you're outside of our business should become extremely like transparent at this point, right? They should feel comfortable. You should be able to bring them in and say, okay, look, I want to launch a program where I launch a VIP card program. Upfront, it'll cost $25. And in exchange for the next 6 months, you'll get 5% off or like 50% off all your coffees. The reason I'm doing this is because I want to raise funds right now so that I can use it to invest in a couple other things, like another location or something. I would come up to my advocates and say, hey, look, I want you guys to help me get to 1,000 sales of this, right? And then showing them like, okay, keeping them up to date. Hey, thanks so much for bringing in those 2 people that signed up for the VIP program. We're 2 up, right? Now the number's growing. So they can actually see like, okay, I'm really having an impact and that I'm genuinely being valued as an individual and I'm being treated as if I'm part of this team. So next time when someone asks like, hey, I'm thinking about going to get coffee. Where should I go? And it's like, oh, you got to go to Chirag's Cafe. Like that's my boy. That's family there, right? Like I know them, they know me, they treat me really well. And like, I really actively want to support them. So the idea of the customer loyalty ladder, showing these models and like they're colorful, right? And my big fear is often like when I talk to people, I know when I first saw them, immediately the idea was, oh, this feels kind of childish to think about. Until I realized that it's not the concept that matters as much as the structure, right? So the ability to be able to sit there and go, okay, well, I know that in order for someone to turn into an advocate for my business, they have to go through each one of these steps. And then sitting there and being really real with yourself is like, what am I doing as a business to get them from one stage to the next? And wherever you see gaps, being able to say, okay, that's a gap. Here, let me fill that in. Let me just make sure my business has something that can address that. And then also the beauty of it is actually being able to measure each level of it. So take a look at, okay, the customer so if we're getting someone from customer to repeat customer, if you measure the percentage of people who do that, right? Now, if you have an e-commerce business, it can actually be a lot easier, right? Because you can just see the email addresses that they use to see what percentage of people when they buy something come back and buy multiple things 5 or 6 times from us. If you see that like, okay, the number of people that become repeat customers are only like 2%, that's a red flag, right? Because it means that either they bought their product and their product was just not meeting their standards at all, and then they didn't like it, and so they just didn't trust you to buy anything again. Or it means that they bought the thing that you're selling them and then they just don't care anymore. You have nothing else to bring them back. It was a one-time use product. There was no affinity for the brand. There was no care to like, okay, I got to come back and buy from this exact brand. They just needed something and you were the easiest way for them to get it. That's a red flag, right? Because you want them to become repeat customers. So at that point, you can sit there and go, okay, let's experiment. Let's implement 3 different programs. Let's see which program raises that percentage the highest. Okay, I see program number 3 in which we send them emails once a week with discount codes. That's the one that works the best. Okay, let's double down on that and roll that out for everyone. So anytime you're a new customer, right, we'll ask you if you want to be part of this program, send you that weekly coupon code, and eventually turn you into a repeat customer. By breaking down each of those steps and then measuring how many people go through each step and what programs you have set up for each step, you can really become strategic about owning that process of turning someone who's random, who've never been to your business before, into someone who's going to go out and actually advocate for you and help you grow your business, as opposed to having it all in a big jumbled mess in your head and going, okay, well, I wish we had more customers. I wish people bought from us again. It's like, it's no longer I wish. It's now, okay, I know exactly where they're getting stuck, where we're losing people. Now let's test a bunch of different programs and ideas around these concepts to bring people to the next level and see what works, what doesn't. Okay, I'm going to stop talking now. This is a pretty long video to begin with. In the comments, just drop who you are, right? Like, hey, I'm so person, whether you're a student, whether I'm a business owner, whatever you're like, here's who I am. And the reason I watched this video or anything about your background, pretty much what I'm trying to figure out, right, is who's watching these, right? And so that way I can sort of really target the messaging and make it a lot more clear. So for example, if I find out that the majority of people watching these are college students who are taking marketing classes, that changes how I describe things, right? Because then I'll be a lot more focused on theories and concepts and helping you understand, okay, like this is that thing that your professor said that didn't make any sense. Here's what it is. Like, here's real life examples about it. Here's how you're going to do it. If I find out that they're primarily e-commerce brands watching this, then being able to use a lot more e-commerce sort of examples and really hone it down for you. And if I find out that your cafes and like those mom and pop shops, then actually focusing in on like, okay, well, what's realistic and what's real for you using actual examples. So let me know in the comments. As always, my name is Chirag and this is EntreKey, where I make business education a little more accessible for small business owners and entrepreneurs. I grew up in a small business family and just absolutely hated how inaccessible business education can be. And so now that I have the fortune and the ability to have access to this information, I'm going to do what I always wish that someone had done for me when I was growing up, which is make that information accessible and put it in the hands of people whose lives it can genuinely change. Right. All right. It was a pleasure. See y'all at the next video.